Hello, and welcome to Inventors Helping Inventors. I'm your host, Alan Beckley, inventor of the Wonder Wallet. If you're an inventor searching for proven ways to make money with your invention, if you dream to see your product selling in stores everywhere, you've come to the right place. There's no better place to get help than from experts, inventors who've already achieved success. Every week, I interview successful inventors, asking them the questions you want to know. Tune in to learn from the experts so you can get your invention out of the tank and into the bank. I want to take just a couple of moments to do something I don't do often enough, and that is to give you a huge thanks for being a loyal listener to the Inventors Helping Inventors podcast. If you've listened to 2 episodes, or 200, or 400, or anywhere in between, you are a loyal listener, and I appreciate every single one of you. This particular week is very important and meaningful to me. Why? Because on January 14th and 2019, I started this podcast 6 years ago. And I have to tell you, when I first started this podcast, I didn't know if I could find 50 inventors I could interview for the podcast, much less over 300 that I found and more coming to me every day. It's absolutely amazing, and I just love this journey. Without you and podcast listeners all over the world, this podcast would certainly not be going. So once again, I want to thank you. I'm so excited to now have gone on for 6 years with this podcast. My goal is to help you and inventors all over the world by bringing you interesting guests with interesting inventions and cool products, and to share their life stories, their challenges, and their aha moments with you. I hope this will help you as you go through the challenges with your own invention. Now, I'd like to finish with a small favor, and that is, if you could take just a couple of moments and give me not only a rating, preferably 5 stars, but also a review on either Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen, that would be amazing. It helps the podcast more than you might know to keep going and to draw other listeners just like you. And sometimes inventors tell me, well, I don't listen to podcasts, so where do I find it? If they tell you that, here's what you tell them. They can always find the podcast on www.alanbeckley.com/podcast. They can find every episode there. So thank you again for being a loyal listener, and more is coming in 2025. Welcome to episode number 544. Today I don't interview anyone, because it's another Me on the Mic episode. So what is the topic of today's Me on the Mic episode? 2 myths that keep inventors from success. Now, if you listen to this podcast for a while, you know I usually like to do things in threes. But in this episode, we're just going to look at 2. But as you'll see, they're very expansive topics, and when it comes to inventor myths, I could be talking about those for the next 5 years because there are a lot of them. So let's get to the main subject here, the 2 myths that keep inventors from success. So number 1 is an inventor belief that is a myth. It goes like this. To license your invention, you must connect with someone who has all the right contacts. Have you ever heard that before? Maybe that's something that you believe. Well, this is not 100% false, because you must find good contacts specific to your product, but that's not all the right contacts. And so very frequently inventors feel like there's some sort of magical list up there somewhere of all the right contacts. And if somebody had them or could give them to you, voila, your product's successful. And one of my favorite examples of the fallacy of this mindset is Mark Cuban is a very successful entrepreneur and Shark Tank host, and he's licensed a lot of products and helped a lot of inventors, no doubt. I want to tell you something. Mark Cuban's email address is publicly available. But somebody says, oh, if I just could get in touch with Mark Cuban. And when they tell me that, I say, so if you did get in touch with Mark Cuban, what specifically would you tell him about your product, one? And why would he have a particular interest in a product like yours? When I ask those two questions, I get a blank stare because they've never thought about that. They've just thought Mark Cuban can take any product and will take any product. Well, that's not true. Mark Cuban, like every entrepreneur, has specific categories and types of products that he likes to work with, and he's not interested in others. So that's part of the fallacy there, that, there's some magical list of all the right contacts. And the final way to kind of show how this is truly a myth is, so all the right contacts. So if you have a kitchen item and you have the perfect contact in Nike, it's not going to do you much good because Nike is not seeking kitchen items. Or if you have a new improved wrench and you have great contacts in the toy company Hasbro, once again, it's not a match. So those two ways to look at this shows why this is a myth, that there's someone who has all the right contacts and you just need the right contacts. Here's what you do need. You need to understand your product. You need to understand some companies that would benefit from having it in their repertoire. And then you need to do enough research to find some appropriate contacts within those companies and begin to reach out to them to approach them about licensing. By the way, I think I mentioned this in the last podcast, that is something through coaching I help inventors with every day. So if you're interested in help with that, just reach out to me and put in the subject line, Inventor Coaching, and just send it to alan@alanbeckley.com. Okay, let's go on to inventor myth number 2. If you want to make the most money from your invention, just build a business around your invention. You can make a lot more money that way than licensing your product. Lots of inventors believe this. And just like the prior myth, it's not 100% false. Sarah Blakely is a billionaire, so she's done okay building a business around her product. But across thousands, tens of thousands, or millions of inventors, most of them license their product. And all the elements of building a business around your product can be very daunting. I know from personal experience. Why? Because I both licensed my product and preferred to do it that way, my Slim Wallet. And for 8 years, I ventured it. I built a business around it. I did all the things that you have to do. I literally imported it. I brought it in. I packaged it. I distributed it. I did all of that. And I made a lot more money through licensing. But let's just use an example to kind of illustrate that. The reason people feel like building a business, and let's call it what it really is, being in the product manufacturing business, because that's what building a business around it is, sounds sexy. But what happens is they confuse the difference between two key elements that are very important: top line revenues and bottom line revenues. So if you have a business that grosses $1 million a year in sales, sounds great, doesn't it? That's top line revenues. But you got to have some expenses in there, don't you? It's not 100% profit. After you take out all of your expenses, taxes, packaging, manufacturing, distribution, warehousing, on and on and on and on, then you get down to what is your bottom line revenues. That's what you would call your net profit margin. And as a way to look at what could be a somewhat realistic net profit margin for somebody who is building a business around their product, when All Star Products president Scott Boylan, was asked about the success of his company, which has been very, very successful in the direct response TV space. And they truly manufacture all kinds of products. So they are a product manufacturing business. He said, at the end of a successful year, our net profit margin might be 10%. Now think of that for just a minute. That means if your business top line grosses $1 million, then at the end of the year, if you manage your business extremely well, your net profit margin might be $100,000. Still sounds pretty good until you realize some of that has to be reinvested back into the business for growth and other things. So somebody with $1 million or even a $2 million top-end gross sales business possibly might have a salary of $50,000 a year, maybe. I'll give a final example just to illustrate this. I happen to have met the inventor of Drop Stop, who went on QVC about the same time I did. And later, he and a business partner got together and started manufacturing and putting Drop Stop out there. It literally stops things from falling through the cracks in your car seat. And somewhat recently, a few years ago, they did do a deal in Shark Tank, full disclosure, and they reported in that their gross sales that year was about $2 million. Then he paused and he said, of course, my partner and I are not taking salaries from our business, and we tend to work 12 to 15 hours a day because we're doing it all ourselves, shipping, sending it out, everything else. And that's pretty realistic of what that kind of product manufacturing business is like. It can be a job with long hours, lots of responsibilities, and at the end of the day, not a lot of pay. So back to the original presumption, if you want to make the most money, build a business around your invention. This is truly a myth for the vast bulk of inventors. You can make a lot more money putting it on others and licensing your invention and collecting royalties. Thanks as always for listening, and we'll be talking to you again soon. Thanks so much for tuning in to Inventors Helping Inventors. If you like the show, please tell your friends about it. Make sure to subscribe in iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts so you won't miss a single episode. Talk to you soon.